Well, hello again, world. Welcome back to Golf Subpar with Colt Knost and Drew Stoltz. And Sleazy, I was out last week, but you held it down for the team. You picked Viktor Hovland to win in the Hero World Challenge, and the man got the job done. That's 2 wins in a row for Viktor Hovland and 2 wins in a row for Golf Subpar.
How about it? Sleazy Claus in the house, coming in a little bit early with some holiday chicken. Hovland getting the job done. Love him down in these grainy Bermuda places for whatever reason. You look at his wins, Puerto Rico, 2 in Mayakoba, now in the Bahamas. They need to move the Masters to a sandals resort somewhere, and the guy might win 9 green jackets. But, I had Berger as well in the mix. He was looking good starting off. And then, by Sunday, I figured, well, Morikawa's pretty much got this thing locked up. Not too often you see a guy 5-shot lead going into the final round. 6 shots on Hovland, and then Hovland finishing bogey, and then that guy still winning the golf tournament. Pretty wild.
Yeah, Colin Morikawa just had a disastrous front 9, shooting 41. Very un-Colin Morikawa-like. But, man, this thing was, wide open. All of a sudden, there was, 5-6 guys with a chance to win. And then Viktor Hovland just goes eagle. No big deal. Holds a bunker shot and then eagles the par 5. And had enough cushion to get the job done at the end. And he's up to number 8 in the world.
I don't see it slowing down a whole lot. That kid is looking really, really good. The chipping, getting better. It's good enough when you hit it the way he does, when you drive the ball the way he does. It's just hard to mess up too bad out there. And, we saw a lot of weird stuff out there. Like we said, Morikawa looked like it had it pretty much locked up, in my opinion. Get out there, it doesn't turn out to be the case. And then opening group, Jordan Spieth, Henrik Stenson, a jicky jack broke out there at the Hero World Challenge, playing from the wrong tee box. Little 2-shot penalty. Have not seen that. Saw that one time happen in the career of my jicks. But that's when they got tees out for all the regulars that are going to be playing afterwards. A little bit understandable. This one, hard to believe. They handled it well, and also a good tournament, by the way, if you're ever going to mess up and play the wrong tee. Money, not a whole lot different after you get out of the top few.
No, not at all. It was amazing to me. But I was just shocked by between the 4 of them. They didn't see the massive sign that said 17 on the tee box they were on. And I was
get it.
Jordan, I love you, bro, but come on, man.
Opening group, probably trying to cruise, get done, get out of there, get to the beach, whatever you're going to do. There was an enormous 17 there, but Stenson, they had a great press conference at the end, by the way. Stenson just kind of took over, was making fun of him. But a little note on the tee, hey, I know this has typically not been the tee, or, been the other tee, but it's for the 9th today. Just something like that would have helped out a little bit for the fellas. But like I said, I don't think they're too stressed about it. Finishing
there was a difference
20th and 19th.
Yeah,
exactly. Doesn't even get the plane fired up. So, but it was still fun to watch. I like seeing that out there. They're humans.
They are. But congratulations, Viktor Hovland. Not an official win, but we're going to give it to him. That's 4 wins.
Yeah. You beat everybody.
It's a win for us.
You beat everybody. It's a win. And how about the other big news of the week? T-Dub, the world freaked out when we saw him flipping 105-yard sand wedges the other week. Now he's in full dogs from the back of the range. Speed, maybe maybe not what you would expect, clearly, but I'll give it. He's way further ahead than what I think you and I both would have expected a couple weeks ago when we saw the sandwich.
And he's got another week to prepare if he wants to play in the PNC parent-child with his son Charlie. He can ride in a cart there. Nota Begay came out and said Charlie gets to play from so far up, they can play his tee shot, so Tiger doesn't even have to hit driver and put stress on that leg. He can just go out there and hit irons. And I know, obviously, Charlie's probably begging him to play. But, man, I really feel like he's definitely going to tee it up here in a couple weeks.
I was just about to ask you. I think we do now. Prior to the week, I would have said, maybe it's some modified deal where he just rides around with Charlie and, hey, you handle the tee shots and I'll hit wedges, or I play me from some random spot, play me from wherever far out, and our score doesn't count or something. Now I think he's going to actually do it.
If he doesn't play, this is a bigger tease than the girl down at Bevy the other night.
Large.
It's just, he's got to. He's out there practicing every single day.
You can't give us this video of you hitting drivers and then be like, no, I can't play the father-son. It's got to be, you got to be out there. I think he's going to be. And
if you don't play the father-son, then you need to tell us right now if you plan on playing in April.
Oh, I think April is... we've been speculating on everyone kind of thinks Augusta's the place that makes sense. I got to think if he's there right now. It was only 9 months ago that this happened, and he's already hitting drivers on the range. He's got another 4 now of actually playing and practicing to get ready. I know he probably can't do it as much as he would like. But, if he can put the dumbbells down for a few minutes and get out there. How about the kid just showing up looking diesel in the Bahamas?
Man, I can't wait. This is going to be so exciting. The lead up to the Masters is just going to be incredible in 2022, and I just have a feeling he's going to be there, and it's going to be absolutely incredible.
I really think I would put money on right now. Yeah, a week or so ago, whenever the sandwich video came out, he's trending, and, we'll see, I guess. It depends how quickly he can ramp up from there. Now, a week or so later, bam, he's hitting drivers. I think he's going to be – I would bet that he'd be at Augusta.
Well, our guest this week knows a little bit about Augusta. Josh Gregory, performance coach on the PGA Tour, former coach at Augusta State and SMU, was privileged enough to coach the likes of Patrick Reed and Bryson DeChambeau, and we dive into it. He doesn't hold anything back.
Yeah, that's like you getting your PhD in coaching. If you can handle those two and you can navigate your way around and make them both be good players, which they're clearly great players, but get through that unscathed more or less. That's pretty much all you can see, I think. From there, everything should be easy.
I love having these guys that, knew them back when. Patrick Reed, went through all the stuff at Georgia, ended up transferring to Augusta State. And Josh is very honest. He's like, look, I wanted to win. The guy's great. He's a great player. I wanted him. And then Bryson DeChambeau, he's like, had the worst attitude I've ever seen. It's just
different rules for different dudes depending on your talent level. Some guys get the free pass, some guys don't. You're world-class talent like the two of those clearly were. You get a little breathing room.
Yeah, but I love having these guys on that can give us some behind-the-scenes looks at their players. And, he raves about both these guys. They're both so talented. It's a joke. This is one of my favorite episodes we've done, even though Josh did it from his car.
Yeah, he looked like he was about to get – somebody's going to come up and ask for his wallet at any moment right there. But, this was fun. A lot of good golf scoop, too. Yeah. Love getting into all the short game stuff.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get to it. Here's Josh Gregory on Golf Subpar.
And before we get to our interview with Josh Gregory, I want to talk to you about the True Turn Pro. So, Colt, you know me. I'm a guy, like to play golf, but I'm not a big warmer-upper per se. Sometimes like to stumble to the tee. It's a couple minutes before. What happens every single time? You come out, you're not loose. I get out there. I'm 2 down through 3. I got a press working. It takes me 9 holes or so to actually get loosened up. Now with True Turn Pro, that doesn't happen anymore because I can have this thing at home. I'll be on the phone, in your office, whatever it is that you're doing. You spend a handful of minutes on this thing. You show up to the golf course. You don't need 20 minutes of balls. This thing really loosens you up. And on top of that, it's also good just because it teaches you how to have like a proper turn and it prevents back injury as well. But for me, I love this thing because, like I said, don't get out there too early all that often. So I put this thing on. Spend a few minutes with it before I go to the golf course, and it makes a world of difference.
Yeah, you can just keep it in your car. Do it right there in the parking lot before you head to the range. But, as a bigger guy myself, some people
husky, I'd say husky.
Yeah, that's fine too. But a lot of people probably think I'm not that flexible. But I use this True Turn Pro. I got one of the biggest shoulder turns in the game, Sleaze. This thing loosens up the T-spine, feels absolutely fantastic, and also makes a great Christmas gift.
Yeah, this thing is perfect for any golfer out there that wants to get better or just prevent back injury. Top teaching pros are adding the True Turn Pro to their teaching arsenal to help their students learn proper rotation as well as how to keep their backs healthy and strong for golf. Good for young guys, good for old guys. And like you said, it can be used anywhere. You use this thing at home in the gym. It's good for working out, learn to turn better, prevent back injury. It travels easy. You can throw it right in your golf bag. You're going on a trip, boom. It's not heavy. It doesn't weigh your golf bag down. It's super easy to travel with, so a lot of uses for this.
And like I said, makes the perfect holiday gift. And if you act fast, you can get a great deal by going to the Golf.com Pro Shop and using the code SUBPAR to get 10% off. Don't ever go home again knowing you could have played better if your back were better. Get the True Turn Pro and start playing your best golf ever. And here's Josh Gregory on Golf Subpar.
Okay, we have a very astute golf mind with us here today. He's a 2-time NCAA champion as coach of Augusta State, 2-time NCAA Coach of the Year, and now performance coach for a grizzload of PGA Tour players, helping them get all aspects of their game dialed in. Josh Gregory is in the house. How we doing, Josh?
Doing great, guys. Thank y'all for having me, and hopefully y'all can see me sitting in my car here. Colt's already giving me a hard time for not following his orders and being on a computer, but I'll do my best.
Joining us from the back of an Oldsmobile here tonight.
Yeah, we'll let it slide this time, Josh.
It's really nice.
Yeah, but first off, you're lucky Sleaze brought you in because I definitely would have said astute.
I like to fluff everybody on the way in, Josh. You know what I mean?
Well, Colt can't spell astute, but although he's a Hall of Famer, though, now, he probably had to learn some words like that for his speech.
Listen here, sir. I went to the same school you did. So you're making fun of me. You're making fun of yourself.
He's got a real good brain.
It was funny. I asked him at that Hall of Fame event how many golfers are in it, and your name wasn't on there. I was shocked.
I can't imagine why I wouldn't be the SEC Hall of Fame. They don't allow me too close. They don't allow me too close to campus anymore. I don't think. No, I didn't quite have the playing career there you had as well. I was okay, but I was average at best.
Well, we'll get into some of this stuff later.
Don't sell yourself.
No, don't. But let's talk about it because you've had an unbelievable ride. Obviously, being a coach at Augusta State, winning back-to-back national titles at a school that, I think probably a lot of people didn't really know what was, even though they're Division II in every other sport other than golf, and then you go out and win back-to-back national titles. I want to know, though, growing up, obviously you played college golf. Was the dream to play professional, or were you always someone that was like, hey, I want to be a coach when I grow up?
No, 100%. I wanted to play. I mean, I played junior golf in Memphis, and then I went on to SMU and played under Hank Haney there for 4 years, and we played in 3 NCAAs, and yeah, I had a very average, slightly above average career, and was never as good as I should have been. I physically was pretty good. I just never believed in myself and always played scared. And as I try to get my guys to do now, believe they're twice as good as they really are. I believed I was half as good as I really was. So constantly played in fear, played scared, played not to screw up. I was great at missing the cut by 1 or 2 when I played professionally for a couple of years, and I either made the cut by 1 or 2 or missed it by 1 or 2. I was just good enough to donate money. So I played under Hank, and I learned a ton under Hank. But I always thought that if I couldn't make it playing, which I learned real fast that I wasn't good enough, that I thought I could coach. I thought I learned enough from him, but I could do some things that his work ethic, his discipline, and what he instilled in us was remarkable. But I thought I could relate to my players. I thought I could coach. I thought I could just do some things a little bit different than he did. And I'm thinking, what a better way than to try to, it's the next best thing. I live through my players. I compete through my players. If I didn't have a scoreboard, I don't know what I would do. I mean, I see all these guys, and in this, Golf Digest released all these rankings of top teachers and all that crap. That they sit on the lesson tee all day and teach players, and God bless them, because I wouldn't have the patience to sit there and teach lessons for 10 hours a day on the range. I'm very lucky to get to work with some of the best players in the world, best juniors, best college players, but I get to have a scoreboard at the end of the day. Does that make sense? I get to have a result. I wouldn't be very good at teaching guys to be from a 20 handicap to a 15 handicap, and that's selfish of me, but that's just the truth. And so my passion started as a college golf coach. We always had a scoreboard. Whether we finished first or whether we finished 12th, it was always one spot better than it could have been. And so that's where I'm thankful I get to do this now and get to see guys compete, and now I just get paid for it.
It's a good thing. Yeah, you get paid for it a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
I feel like it's very interesting that you have coached probably 2 of the most talked about people in the game of golf right now, with Patrick Reed at Augusta State and Bryson DeChambeau at SMU. Right. I want to start with Patrick Reed. Like, he obviously, it's well known. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. Tell
us everything.
But he obviously transferred to Augusta from Georgia. There were some issues. I mean, that's up to you if you want to get into that or not. But give us a little bit of background. Like, what was Patrick Reed like as a college golfer?
He was tough. I mean, I learned way more from my players probably than they learned from me. I mean, if your players shape your coaching style. And I was fortunate enough to have some really tough ones in Hendrik Norlander, Patrick Reed, obviously Bryson DeChambeau's in a class by himself. But as far as learning from those guys and learning to be patient, learning to have to adapt some to their style. I'm not a dictator as a coach. There's a big difference between instruction and coaching, and there's a lot of what I do is instruction, but most of what I do is coaching. And so I had to coach Patrick Reed a hell of a lot differently than I had to coach Hendrik Norlander, and I had to coach Bryson DeChambeau a heck of a lot differently than I did the other 8 or 9 guys on the team. So what Patrick brought to the table, yeah, I knew what I was getting into. I talked to Chris Hack when he came, and I said, tell me everything. I want to know the truth. And yeah, I'd be lying to you if I didn't say I didn't want to win. I knew the baggage. I knew there were some issues coming in, but I knew he needed me and I needed him. Does that make sense? Yeah. I knew there would probably be some issues, but at the same time, I thought I was the type of coach that could handle it. I knew he needed somebody to hold his hand. I needed somebody to be a father figure, a big brother figure, a little bit of everything. I know he needed a kick in the ass sometimes, but also he needed a hug sometimes as well. But let's face it, I wanted to win. If Patrick Reed was shooting 75 every day, I probably wouldn't have taken it. I'm not stupid, but I want to win. So at the same time, it was hard, but obviously it was worth it. Not only from it's easy to say it was worth it because he helped you win 2 national championships, but from a relationship standpoint, I learned so much how to coach through him, dealing with his personality, dealing with a lot of struggles, but most importantly, how to coach individuals. College golf, too many coaches make the mistake of thinking it's a team sport. It has nothing to do with a team environment. There is about 2 things and 2 things only you do as a team. You go to dinner together, and maybe you work out, and maybe you go to a study hall together. Other than that, everything is individual. There's no team practice. Qualifying is overrated. Even workouts are overrated. Workouts should all be done individually because Colt, you have a temple of a body, and Drew, your body's a little different. But if y'all were working out, I would imagine y'all's workouts would be totally different. So why the hell is everybody doing the same thing? So it kind of helped formulate my beliefs as a coach, which is therefore transferred over to the tour level now of coaching everybody a little bit differently. There's no methods other than some of my practice stuff. There's no methods to anything I do.
You know Patrick Reed better than, I mean, you spent more time around him and things like that. You said you took him on the team because you needed to win. You both needed each other. But do you, like, getting to know him as well as you have, do you think he thrives on being the villain? Do you think that brings the best out of him? Like, I go back to Torrey Pines this year and that whole deal, and then all of a sudden he goes out there and puts on a clinic the rest of the week. I feel like he almost embraces that role and needs it to bring out the best in him.
Well, I think Colt and I actually texted on that. I believe it happened on Saturday, or was it Friday? Anyway, it was Saturday. I believe Colt and I texted during that moment, and we both were on the same page that he really didn't do anything wrong there. Unfortunately, he's Patrick Reed, so he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt. And he should have gone above and beyond. But having said that, more importantly, as soon as it happened, I texted Colt, said he's going to win by 10. Because I said, this is exactly what he wants. Because he wants to be the bad guy. Look, he gets a bad rap for a lot of things. The guy's not a bad guy. He works hard. He's a true pro when it comes to his work ethic, his discipline, his passion for the game. He's very respectful and great to play with. He doesn't talk much, but he's polite. He plays fast. Anybody that I coach, he's always been one of the first to ask him how they're doing, offer to ask for help, play practice rounds with, whatever. Unfortunately, he's made some mistakes, probably said some things that he regrets, that he would love to take back, but he can't. And so he's not all bad. He's been awesome to my family, all those things. He's like Michael Jordan. He wants the ball at the end of the game. He's not afraid. He's not out there to make friends. Doesn't have many out there. Would a kisser say one day, I wouldn't piss on him wouldn't piss on him for burning? Well, that's, you know what? A lot of people may think that, but I think it's very misconstrued. I don't think that many people really care. I mean,
I agree with you on that.
Yeah. I don't think they really care. Do they have issue with maybe some things that have happened? Of course they do, but it really doesn't affect their lives. And more importantly, they respect and they would love to chip and putt it like he does.
Everybody.
And I would say, if you look at what's going on in the world of golf right now, like you had the whole Bryson and Brooks feud. Patrick Reed doesn't have a feud with anyone. Like you said, I don't think anybody really cares. We're not going to see Patrick Reed teeing it up in a made-for-TV match anytime soon.
It's Reed and the media. That's the only feud.
Yeah.
He's not going to move the needle in that way. But at the same time, if you watch his golf game and learn, I mean, the guy's been about as consistent as anybody for the past 7 or 8 years that he's been on tour. And he's going to continue to be on. He will be on Ryder Cup teams. He will win more majors. He will do those things because he loves to compete. And obviously not the talent level of Michael Jordan, but a similar mentality in that the fact I want the ball. I don't really care what others think about me. I don't care if you think I'm the bad guy. I'm going to step on your throat and I'm going to beat you.
Yeah, I think he wants it. So do you think that the public perception of Patrick Reed, fair or unfair?
Unfair.
Unfair?
Yeah.
Misunderstood?
Better word, excuse me. Unfair is not the right word, because there's been some things that I know he would love to change and would love to have handled probably a little better. But at the same, misunderstood is a better way. He is the best I've ever been around in pro-ams by far of anybody I've ever worked with, current or past. He reads putts. He can promise you he knows every one of their names. He does some trick shots for them. He helps them with their golf swing. He asks them about their life. Those are the things that go unnoticed. Some things he did for Grayson Murray when Grayson Murray came out with his issues that I'm not going to, but he did some things for him that nobody will. He does things behind the scenes that are pretty darn good. His foundation raises a ton of money. His AJG event raises more money than any event on tour. But unfortunately, people see the incident in the Bahamas. They hear the incidents in college. They hear things like that, and those are hard to overcome. But it doesn't make him a bad person.
Well, let's talk about one thing I know he is respected for, and that's the short game, which I know you pride yourself on helping him a lot. You've been with him since college. Where would you rate him of the people you've come across, or even on the PGA Tour now, as far as short game and around the greens? I mean, the guy he has so much fight, like we talked about, but nobody, I feel like, gets it up and down. Maybe Jordan Spieth would be the only one I could say, but where would you rank him?
I'd say Jordan Spieth's the only one in his class, especially at the medium to hard shots, the stuff that you're just not supposed to get up and down. They are by far the best. I still would take Jason Day when he's on, and maybe Luke Donald. When we're just talking about basic pitching, Brian Gay is pretty phenomenal as well. Just basic, medium, spinny pitches, low run, just the basic stuff. That kind of bores Patrick, to be honest. Does that make sense? You've played enough golf with Jordan, and Jordan is great with the basic stuff, but he's way better off a downslope, off hard pan over a bunker than he is 5 yards off the green, chipping it to a basic flag. Because it engages his mind and his hands and his artistry and all that stuff. But day in and day out, I wouldn't choose anybody in the world over him. I mean, I'm lucky. Yes, if I helped him with him, but it's founded a lot of my beliefs through him, and it's founded a lot of my stuff that I work on with other guys as far as the drills, the games, the competition. He's the one I compare them to. So when we do our drills and games, he's the number one. He's the guy that say, hey, this is what he scores in this drill. What are you doing? Because the stuff I've seen him do in practice is what would be truly frightening to you. Because when we do kick-in drills or we do games around the greens, and he's hitting shot after shot that is either going in, lipping out, or going to a foot, and he generally is trying to make every chip. And what is cool about him is regardless of whether he's winning the Masters or whether he's finishing 55th, he's grinding over that chip on the 72nd hole just as hard. He reads it from all four different angles. He pulls the greens book out. I guess you can't do that anymore, but I can promise you'll have more notes. He'll have as many notes as anybody's ever had. I mean, the guy's attention to detail and his perfectionism is off the chart. And he reads a 30-yard chip shot like you and I would read a 6-foot right edge putt. I mean, it's a joke how much it's impressive. But his form, his technique is second to none. I mean, he's a drawer of his pitches. I mean, there's two ways to chip a golf ball. There's Patrick Reed, hinge, unhinge, draw it a little bit. And then there's Jason Day's tee stricker, wide to wide, a little more cutty looking. But he's the best in the world at throwing the face and drawing pitches.
So being that like the short game, that's kind of your calling card. You're really well known, really well respected for all your short game stuff. When you're teaching guys, is that something your methods? Did you take that from other teachers and things you'd learned and on the way up, or is that something that you teach based on what you see with players who you've worked with or observed and things like that?
I think it's a combination of both. I mean, I was lucky at Augusta State to coach a lot of European players that had spent some time around Pete Cowan. So I learned. They're Oliver Wilson, Hendrik Norlander, guys like that were the first I'd ever even heard about drawing chips and feeling like you're drawing bunker shots and aiming right and shallowing it out and not all that. So I learned a lot from them. I could always chip and putt and still can't hit it. Colt will attest to that, or definitely can't drive it. That ball's still going down I-75, I think, but
we might
that's
get
another story.
Just be patient here.
It's coming. It's coming. So a lot of it, I can do on my own. So a lot of it's trial and error and me trying to figure out, people say, well, what do you teach? Well, I teach lie-based chipping. Judge a lie, and then every technique, every setup is based on the shot you have and the lie you have. Yes, there are certain foundations I believe in, whether you're more of a drawer of pitching, which would be Patrick Reed, or where you're more of a wide-to-wide cutter of chipping like a Day or Stricker. And both of those have certain commonalities that I teach. But everything is lie dependent. Everything, whether it's the types of grass, downhill, uphill, side hill, ball below your feet, into the grain. So that's where I've kind of found a niche that, let's face it, the short game, not a lot of guys love to teach the short game. But I think unlike full swing, I think you can teach the full swing and not necessarily do it yourself. But I think chipping, you kind of have to be able to do it yourself. Does that make sense? You kind of have to be able to dig it out of the dirt, play around with some lies, angles, figure it out on your own to be able to kind of talk to others about it.
I think it's kind of I think it's kind of like putting in a sense that, like Colt and I have talked about this, are great putters born or great putters made. You can make a bad chipper a better chipper, but I think there's just something in DNA or innate that certain guys have that others don't, no matter what technique, how long they practice, whatever. Some guys just have it and some guys don't.
Well, to your point, I mean, I've learned from players. I've learned from other teachers, instructors. I've done it trial and error on my own and just understanding things. But it's like Hendrik Norlander tells me all the time. Colt loves Hendrik, and Hendrik's a beauty. And I don't think he's been on your show yet, but it's a shame that he hasn't been on your show. You need to get him with a couple bottles of wine, and he'll be just fine. He'll be. You won't understand a word he says, but it'll be great. But as he tells me numerous times, so Hendrick's an elite ball striker. When he's on, he's one of the probably top 20 ball strikers on tour. One of the few guys that can actually hit low flighted fades. It's sickening to watch when he's on. And he's become an average putter, and he's become an average chipper. But as he tells me all the time, he goes, Coach, I'm never going to be a great chipper. He goes, I don't have it in me. He said, so we'll be going through a session, and it'll be maybe on a Tuesday of a tournament week, and we'll be chipping for an hour. And if he ever goes past that, he's going to look at me and say, Coach, if I chip this much, I'm going home on Friday.
Good point. Yeah. Man knows his game.
Man knows his game. There's two types of players. Hendrick Norlander goes to the first tee. Henrik Stenson goes to the first tee in his prime, or whoever the great elite ball strikers are now, Justin Thomas, they go to the first tee knowing, hey, if my full swing is on, everything else is going to fall into place. Patrick Reed goes to the first tee and goes, hey, if my chipping and putting is on, I'm not worried about how I hit it. That'll take care of itself. So you have to coach each style. There's Adam Long and I have to spend way more time on chipping and putting because he swings at 110 miles per hour. He has to maximize from 120 yards and in. He can't do the things that Justin Thomas, Rory McIlroy, Dustin Johnson does. Taylor Moore, my new guy on tour, has had a nice fall and pounds it. He's 5'8" and swings at 120. I mean, look, he does things that Adam Long can't do. So every structure and plan and guys you work with is based on what they can and can't do. So, but it is, my goal with short game is almost like a prevent defense. I'm trying to build them a defense mechanism. All these guys on tour got their name on the back because they can hit it. You can't play the PGA Tour unless you can hit it. Period. The worst ball striker on tour is still pretty damn good. Correct?
That's what I tell everybody. Everybody's like, "Oh, who hits it bad out there?" I'm like, "No one.
Nobody." Martin Trainer's probably statistically the worst ball striker on tour, and he almost won a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So at a golf course, it's pretty darn hard. So all these guys hit it. My job is to build them a prevent defense. It's to build them a defense mechanism to when things are going haywire, they can hang in the ballgame, and when they are on, they can maximize. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. No,
if they have to use all of what I do, of what I'm doing, if they have to use that too much, they ain't going to be on tour very long. Mm-hmm. The game works green backwards. If you can make 4-foot putts, what does that free up? It frees up your lag putting. If you can make your 4-foot putts, 5-foot putts, what does that free up? Chipping. You don't have to hit it as close. If you can chip it, what does that free up? Iron play, because now you're not afraid to miss a green. Therefore, now you're not afraid to miss it in the rough off the tee. It starts green backwards. Yes, you have to hit it, but if you can do those little things, as I say this all the time. I was working with a kid today that's going to SMU next year. That's a high school, really nice player. Look, I don't care if you can get the hard ones up and down. It's unbelievable to watch Jordan Spieth and Patrick Reed and those guys get shots from just dead, get it up and down. But I care about getting the basic ones up and down. Basic chipping, basic pitching, basic bunker, basic putting requires way more sound technique than hard flop shots.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. It's a great
shot requires contact. Basic hard flop shots require unbelievable sick hands and imagination. I've helped Hudson Swafford off and on for a year or so, and he's incredible out of hard lies. He struggled for a long time out of basic chipping. Now he's getting a little bit better because he has a better understanding of what he's doing. But again, he's a type doesn't have to be great at it because he hits so darn good.
The one thing I really, really agree with you on is, I mean, for these guys like Patrick Reed, a lot of guys panic when their full swing's not in total order, when they don't feel totally confident about it. A guy like Patrick Reed, he's like, I've been here before. This is no problem. I can hit it like shit and still go out and win. I mean, for a guy like me, if I would have a bad warm-up session, I'd be like, oh, my God, where are we going Friday night?
Babe, Southwest, see what they got Friday.
But I saw you panic when you're at the British Open. Now you're rolling full tilt.
Yeah, well, that was a place where I never played off that tight of grass, and I didn't really know how to compress it very well, and that kind of exposes you over there, Josh.
You were kind of a picker, Colt. Let's just call it that. You were a picker. You weren't really a compressor.
No, that's exactly. I didn't have enough speed to compress it. And just so you know, I asked basically every bathroom attendant, concession stand guy at the British Open to come help me that day, and then I ran into you.
Hey, I don't blame you. beyond overvalued and overpaid.
No, you're the best. One of my favorites out there. But I mean, we could talk, I feel like, for 4 hours, but we got to get to this other guy. I mean,
there's another dude.
There's another guy you kind of spent some time with.
You coach any normal dudes?
Not really. You know what? That's kind of my MO. I get handed all the bad short game guys, and I get handed all the psychos. So anyway, it's kind of part of who I am. I mean, I love that. I mean, I like to be needed. Does that make sense? As a coach, I don't work very well with independent players who say, all right, I'll see you in a few weeks. I like to be in the game, and that's probably my college coaching roots in me. I like to be a part of guys' lives, and it's a relationship to me, and the business comes second. And so, it's but I know where we're going with Bryson, and God, he's a beauty. He's I've got some great stories, so just fire away.
Let's get to him, because I want to know. I want to know, first time you see this guy. Here he is.
Yeah.
All same length clubs, obviously different than anything you've seen before. Give me a first impression of Bryson DeChambeau.
So, interesting story. So we won our second national championship at Augusta State, and I knew I was going to SMU immediately after that. And I knew I had to recruit fast because, candidly, the team, they were ranked about 60th the previous year, and they had just lost Kelly Craft, who was one of the top 10 players in the country. So and they didn't really sign anybody. So you do the math. They were essentially 100th, 110th ranked team and not returning very much. So I knew I wanted to rebuild fast. I can't stand losing. And so I found out about Bryson through Ryan Ressa in TaylorMade, Adidas Golf, who was our sponsor and still a great friend of mine to this day. And he said, hey, there's this kid in California you ought to check out. I said, he's different, but he's not probably well liked. He's a little different cat. He's got a bad attitude, all these things, but he said he's probably right up your alley. I said, all right, well, give me his name. So he told me Bryson DeChambeau. I looked up his results. They were really good. So I did something I've never done in my entire life. I picked up the phone. I called Bryson and I said, hey, Bryson, my name's Josh Gregory. You don't know me. I don't know you. I've just won 2 national championships at Augusta. I'm going to SMU, and I'm going to rebuild this program as fast as I can. And I said, I'm going to offer you a full scholarship over the phone, sight unseen.
Wow. And
the kid almost starts crying because he doesn't come from any money. He was being recruited by UCLA, Stanford, Washington, everybody on the West Coast. And his dream was to go to Stanford. And I knew the only way I could beat Stanford was to get in early. They have the ultimate trump card. They have Tiger Woods. They have one of the best universities, and it's maybe the greatest place to play college golf. It's awesome. Best facility. It's incredible. So I said, I'm flying out to the Junior World tomorrow to watch you at Torrey Pines. I'm going to fly out. I'm only coming out there to watch you, and that's it. I have no idea what I'm getting. I kind of know the single link stuff, but I really don't even know what I'm going to get. I just know I'm looking at scores, and I trust Ryan Ressa that, hey, this kid's good. So, and I know I want to win. So I go out there, and I see this kid carrying with a pull cart. Now, nobody's got pull carts at this time. This is 2000. This is 2011. Now every junior's got a pull cart. It wants to make me throw up, but every one of them's got a pull cart. But so he's got a pull cart. He's got his Payne Stewart hat on. He's got all the irons of the same length. He's swinging at this time. He's swinging zero shift plane, I think is what he was calling it, because the club it wasn't even one plane. It was wacko, but he striped it. He didn't hit it anywhere, but he absolutely striped it. And when I say the worst attitude I've ever seen, I mean the worst attitude I've ever seen. Banging clubs, swearing, pouting, looks like the biggest 3-year-old you've ever seen. But I don't care, because you know what? I can fix that. First of all, he can play, but I can coach that. I can fix that. I can't coach 76 into 68, but I can coach 68 into 65 with having a good attitude and learning how to play the game. So I'll never forget, I had a coach who I won't mention said, why are you taking that kid? Well, I said, what are you talking about? Why wouldn't I? He has a 4.0 in the classroom, and he shoots 68 every time he tees it up. All I got to do is keep him out of trouble, get him to the tee on time, and he'll be just fine. So there's nothing wrong with that. I have no trouble with bad attitudes and that's stuff you can work and you can coach. At least it shows you cares. But that was the first impression of him. And I'll never forget, he gave me one of the coolest compliments ever when he eventually said, I'm coming to play for SMU, because he chose us over UCLA and Stanford and some really great programs that were established, and we weren't any good. And I said, why did you choose me? Why did you choose SMU? And he said, you were the only coach that would let me be me. Everybody else told me my way wouldn't work. Everybody else told me that single link clubs wouldn't work. They're going to have to conform to their practice beliefs, and there's workouts and all this crap. Why? There's different rules for different folks. You shoot 68 and a 4.0, you do what you need to do. You shoot 76 and have a 2.6, then you're on my rules.
I was a combo.
Which were you? What about a 2.0 and shoot 74?
Yeah. I was 68 and 2.5, but whatever.
Hey, it worked out just fine for you, bud. You're a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So when you get him and he's got this bad attitude, but you know that going in, and you just goes Patrick Reed, so you got some, good experience in coaching this type of stuff. When he gets there, how do you whip him into shape? I mean, that's a strong-headed dude right there. He probably doesn't want to change a whole lot. How do you morph him from this, kind of kid attitude out there banging clubs and stuff to a guy that handles himself?
Extremely hard on him, but with also loving the hell out of him. I mean, I was a coach that if you want to be good at coaching, whether it's at the collegiate level, especially at the collegiate level, but even at the professional level, it's 24/7. Your guys come before your needs, and candidly, sometimes before your family's needs, and that doesn't make it. It's maybe doesn't make for the healthiest life, but at the same time, that's the truth. When these parents trusted their kids with me, my job was to put them first, and so there was numerous conversations at midnight. There was plenty of time sitting after practice, working with them. There was plenty of times at tournaments. The team would go home and I'd be in the van and we'd be sitting there practicing, or a lot of times just having come to Jesus chats, more importantly, about life and about talking and about understanding what he has to do to be a true professional and to be a gentleman. And some of it's worked, some of it hasn't worked. He's still got plenty of room for growth. But one of the coolest stories that I remember about him is, so I knew that his wedge game was terrible. He couldn't chip in his wedge game and bunker game. Well, it's hard to chip with a 6-iron. It's hard to wedge it with a 6-iron or a 7-iron, or that's 9 degrees upright. I mean, let's face it, that's pretty tough. That heel's going to dig pretty fast. So I knew that I would lose his credibility and I would lose his respect if I ever tried to put him in short wedges. That was the only thing I wanted to change. That I said I wanted to give him a couple of my wedges to somebody's wedges and say, hey, go figure it out with these and let's see what we can do. Do all the others, but I knew I would lose his respect. So one day he finally came to me after another qualifying round, where he didn't play that great, didn't chip it well, didn't wedge it well. And he said, hey, coach, can I try some short wedges? And I'm literally just dancing because I'm thinking I'm going to have the greatest player in the history of the game, because he's going to now have short wedges and he can do whatever he wants to do with his full swing, but now he's going to learn to chip and wedge. So I said, all right, meet me at Dallas Athletic Club. So meet me at Dallas Athletic Club tomorrow. I'm going to bring you 2 wedges. You bring your 2, and I'm going to run you through some competitions, some drills, some games, and we'll just see what's better. I'm not going to tell you what to do. So I wake up the next morning at about 6:30, and there's a message on my voicemail already that says, Coach, I can't do it. He's almost crying. He goes, Coach, I can't do it. He goes, I can't do it. I said, all right, meet me at the facility, and I'm going to teach you. We're going to learn how to wedge it. We're going to learn how to chip it. We're going to learn how to bunker it with 6-irons, essentially. And I'll be darned if he didn't figure it out. And we learned that we had to but had I ever forced him into those wedges, there's no way we would have had the relationship that we had. Although I still think he could be a better player with short wedges.
I was going to ask you, right now, do you think he would, I mean, clearly he probably won't contemplate that at this point, but if he did, do you think that'd be a good move? If he ever just embraced that and said, I need to get this better, even though he's gotten pretty good? Yeah.
If you look at his stats, I mean, his weaknesses would be, around the greens and distance wedge play. So yeah, I think it damn sure wouldn't hurt. It's his only weakness. He's an elite putter. That's what he's not given credit for. The guy's one of the best putters in the world. He rolls incredible. Nobody works harder at it. Now it'll be interesting to see. Now changing green books, changing some of the things they're going to do. How's he going to adapt to that? But there's nobody that works any harder, so he'll figure it out. But yeah, I think he could be a better wedge player. Just control would be better. He could flight it better. All those things. But it was a unique relationship. It was something that I learned so much coaching from him. I had to treat him differently. I had to keep him away from his teammates at a lot of times because I just knew it wasn't right. He needed to be doing his own thing. And so he came to the right environment because I was going to be a coach that was going to coach individuals. And he was terrible at match play. When he made it to like 5 straight USGA events in the Western Am, but he never won a match because he was so bad at match play because all he did was focus on what the other guy was doing. and just live and die on what they were doing. His emotions were terrible. They'd make a putt, he'd shrug his shoulders, throw all this kind of crap. And then finally I sat him down and had a heart-to-heart with him, told him I'll never forget this before the USAM, the Western Am, the USAM that summer. And I said, look, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to literally look away every time the person is hitting a golf shot. I want you to go out, shoot a score, and if that score is probably going to be good enough to beat your guy. And to his credit, he did it. And to also his credit, he gave me credit for helping him how to learn how to finally play match play, because his emotions just kept getting the best of him.
So it's so crazy. Yeah. It's just so crazy to talk to a guy who's coached Patrick Reed and Bryson DeChambeau. Looking back, if I would have said after your first year with Patrick Reed and your first year with Bryson DeChambeau, who would you have said has a better professional career?
Patrick Reed. No backup plan. There was zero ever talk about doing anything else. Ryder Cup's majors or bust. I mean, that was his talk. Bryson, I thought, would either be in a straight jacket or he'd be a tour player. He still might, both of them. I'd say it if he was sitting right here beside me. We're still close enough. I'd say that, and he knows it. I didn't know if he could ever have the demeanor, the ability to handle failure, the ability to screw up, the ability to miss cuts and be able to make it. And that was my only worry with him. I knew physically I've never seen a golf ball hit like that. At that time, it was totally different, though. He just hit it straight. I never saw him hit a ball in a Hassan in 2 years. That's a true story. He didn't miss fairways. He didn't miss greens, but he couldn't putt. And he was a very average to below average chipper and wedger. Now he can putt. And nobody's worked harder at it than he has to become an elite putter. And that's what's misunderstood, is that people think, yeah, he's obsessed with hitting it far and he's obsessed with doing some weird stuff. But Colt, you're out there all the time as well. And that guy's on the putting green. Now, he may take up half the putting green with all his utensils and his devices and training aids that he has. But there's nobody that works harder at his putting than he does.
I don't think there's anybody that works harder at any part of the game than Bryson DeChambeau. Yeah. It's just it's insane. It's sun up to sundown, and that's why everybody's like, "Oh, what he's doing is bad for the game." I'm like, man, if you look at it though, and if you're out there, like, it's not like he just shows up and all of a sudden he starts hitting at 330. Like, this has been a process, and he works his ass off, and so that's why I think he gets the respect of a lot of tour players.
100%. I mean, it's one little quick follow up to the about taking up half the green when he putts. One of my favorite stories about Bryson is Lucas Glover, Lucas is the best. I mean, good old boy, just says what's on his mind. But one of Bryson's first tour events was at Colonial, and that putting green, it's not very big at Colonial, and Bryson's got 17 different devices he's got tees everywhere. He's got Sam Putting Lab. He's got all this stuff that he's using that I don't even know how to use. And he's got this working over there. And I'll never forget, it was on Wednesday, Pro-Am Day. So there's 9,000 other people there. And Lucas Glover comes up to him in his little Southern drawl and comes up to him and says, "Hey, pro, you ain't the only one on this green."
I remember that.
Bryson at that time was scared to death, just shaking like a little dog. And needless to say, he picked up his stuff. But he gets a bad rap for first of all, he's young, he's single, he has all the money in the world, he has all the ability in the world. He's just trying to figure it out. He has other interests than just going out to win tournaments. I think it's unbelievable that he wanted to go do the long drive competition. He may in 2 years decide, hey, I don't care about how far I hit it. I want to hit it as straight as I can again. Who knows? But he will work hard to figure it out. Much like Tiger won with 3 or 4 totally different golf swings, Bryson has won with different golf swings, different bodies, different styles of game as well. He's won as a dinker, but he's also now winning as a bomber. So,
and I don't think we'll ever see him stay the same. I think he's got one of these brains that just has to be going, has to be trying something. If he's doing the same thing over and over, he's not going forward. I think in his brain, a lot like I compare him a lot to Phil Mickelson, because I think Phil is a lot like that. You see him think, I'm going to put 2 drivers in play, or I'm going to do that. He does so many different things, and it's like, if you remain the same, I'm not getting better. And I think Bryson's a lot like that. I think he'll continue to tinker and do different things throughout his entire career.
I think he gets bored, and it's much I compare it to similar to what's going on with all this college coaching now with Lincoln Riley and these guys leave. After 6 or 8 years, almost every great coach wants a change. They want a new challenge. Did they handle it the right way? I don't know, and I don't really care. But people, why would you leave to go to these places? Well, they want a new challenge. Tiger wanted a new challenge. He wanted to do something different because they're always in pursuit of perfection, always in pursuit of trying to get better. Status quo for him just doesn't work, and it'll excite him. and it'll recharge them to want to do something else again 3 or 4 years down the road.
I know you've been out of the college game for a little while now with the stuff that happened and everything. Do you miss that part at all, or do you love being out there with the best players in the world on the PGA Tour?
Yeah, I do miss it. I miss it every day. Having said that, I never dreamed of winning 2 national championships. I thought I could, and that was my goal. But I darn sure never dreamed of coaching the best players in the world. I never dreamed of helping guys, try to, whether it's Patrick Reed or Will Zalatoris or Taylor Moore, or Henrik or Doc, or all the guys that I work with, the opportunities that I had working with Jason Kokrak a few years ago, or working with Charles Howell. I never dreamed of sitting there on the chipping green with Tiger and Patrick talking about chipping. I mean, that's unbelievable. I'm just a college golf coach that happened to do a pretty good job because I had great players and I wanted to, and I worked hard. So the ability to work with the best in the world, I never dreamed of, but it's also the ultimate challenge and the ultimate grind and the ultimate gratification to be able to try to help these guys win at the highest level. What's cool about what I can do now is I'm so lucky to be at an awesome place, to be at Merido, where Merido under Albert Huddleston, to be here in Dallas, to where I could be here 1 day a month or 30 days a month. So I don't have to, I don't teach a lot of members. I need to teach more. I need to do a better job of doing that. But whether I work with somebody at junior level or college level or mini tour level or professional level, I can truly coach them. Does that make sense? I don't have to fundraise anymore. I don't have to recruit anymore. I was good at those things, but that's not coaching. Probably at Augusta State, 90% of my job was coaching. At SMU, 25% of my job was coaching. Big difference of place. I had 3.5 scholarships at Augusta State and a $30,000 operating budget. At SMU, I have a full 4.5 scholarship. I have a $300,000 operating budget. Do whatever I want to do. Money, planes, all that stuff doesn't make a darn bit of difference in winning. That's why I hate hearing excuses of coaches say, well, we don't have the funds. That's garbage. You can win anywhere within reason. We had enough at Augusta State to win. We didn't have what everybody else had, but we had enough. We had a great facility. We had a great place to play. We had enough money to get around, and we had a coach and we had players who cared. So to answer your question, yeah, I miss it. I hate the way it ended. I hate that, there's some selfish things that I regret. I know the truth and I know what I did, and I made some mistakes, and I didn't deserve the punishment I got. But at the same time, if I didn't make a mistake, I'd have a job. I wouldn't have lost my job. So it was on me. But I'm also, it's a blessing in disguise. Had that not happened, I would have never been able to do this. I would be a college coach, probably still at SMU. I hate it because I firmly think we would have won national championships there. And I wanted to do that for my alma mater, a place that gave me, much like you, Colt. I wasn't an SMU kid. I mean, I just got lucky enough to get a scholarship there. So I wanted to give back to a place that gave me so much. So there's part of me that misses the, I miss the national championship. I miss competing in that event. I miss the day-to-day practice. I miss the competition. I don't miss a lot of the other stuff. I don't miss, the day-to-day recruiting and chasing down 14-year-olds.
Yeah, that's such cool stuff. I mean, I feel like we could talk about this for like 4 hours, but obviously, as you can see, it's getting a little dark there.
Yeah, I feel like you're about to get mugged at some point, bro. Somebody's going to be on hanging in there. You're going to be on the first 48 here in the next couple of weeks if we don't get you through the E9.
Yeah, we got to get to that.
I was accused of that too when I lost my job at SMU. I heard a lot of rumors. I think that was one of them as well.
I heard you attached to the Kennedy assassination. I don't know if you want to get into that, but I've heard your name linked to that.
That's coming out in the movie here in a couple months.
Yeah, you were in Dallas at the, so.
Well, let's get to it. That's a story for another day. All right, Emergency 9. You know all about this. 9 fun questions to get to know Josh Gregory a little more. We ask this to everyone. You can trade lives for a day with anyone ever, dead or alive. Who would it be?
St. Louis Cardinals manager. Whoever that is right now. Oliver Marmol just got named, but I'd be the St. Louis Cardinals manager in a heartbeat.
Wow. You're a diehard Cardinals fan?
Diehard Cardinals fan. Would love baseball probably more than I love golf.
Wow. I wouldn't have guessed that answer.
Chew tobacco, bullshit with the boys.
No, I'm too scared to do that.
All right, it's not an answer I thought we might ever get on here. St. Louis Cardinals manager. All right, we might can make that happen.
Maybe GM would be even better. That way, would be less. I could just watch. But anyway, be the manager. That's it.
I like that.
That's a good gig. All right, Next one. Would one of your biggest accomplishments as a coach be getting Will Zalatoris to actually eat?
Yes, we need 20 pounds. There's no doubt he needs 20 pounds.
Is he a kid that eats and doesn't gain weight, or does he not eat?
He eats. He just can't gain weight. The guy eats a ton.
I respect it.
But he eats too clean. He eats too healthy. So he's kind of a health freak as well. So
send him to Scottsdale.
Get you some Whataburger in his life.
No,
you know what I mean?
Spend a week with me.
Up.
You'll
15,
be
20 pounds. Got to pump those numbers up in this racket.
That kid's a stud, man. He's what he's done the past 2 years is it's been pretty cool to be a part of that journey.
He's a beast.
Yeah, get that putter going. Look out. All right, better fashion statement in the game of golf. Patrick Reed's choker, Bryson DeChambeau's little hat.
You're gonna get me. You're gonna get me in trouble here, but I'm gonna have to say the hat. I know the reason behind the choker, so there's more to it. But yeah, we'll go with the hat and be done with that question.
Okay, that's fair enough. I feel like the choker, I don't know the story behind it. It could be loosened up just a little bit. There are times where I'm wondering if enough blood's getting up there. Could lead to some of these things. All right, next one. When you travel to Torrey Pines this year, are you planning on just packing a sleeping bag for safety's sake?
Yeah, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. I will be getting the biggest bed known. My whole room might just be a bed. Yeah, I'm going to try to stay in bed this year. Fell out of bed.
King size or a double? I'll just take the ground. I brought my own bag.
Yeah, I was in a double last year, and that's the last time I'll be in a double. I'll just be in a futon or a sleeping bag. So yeah, hopefully no more falling out of bed. It's quite embarrassing. Was actually sober too, so that's really the embarrassing part.
I would just lie.
Would have been a lot more. Yeah, it would have been a lot more. You know, people could embrace that a little bit. Hey, he was blasted. What do you want him to do?
Nobody believes me. Matt Every has no time for my story. I mean, he's like, there's nobody that believes your story, but. Just telling you the truth.
Robert Allenby was somewhere smiling when he heard that.
Hey, I paid for it though with a broken shoulder. It's still not healed, so it wasn't worth it. I can promise that.
Oh, that's great. Well, we're glad you're okay now. All right, you know, you mentioned you've been out there with the best in the world. You're on a chipping green with Patrick Reed and Tiger Woods. What's one of, like, just off the top of your head, most impressive thing you've seen in your days out on the PGA Tour?
Oh. Wow. So here's the thing, Colt, that impresses me, and it's probably not going to be one thing. Obviously, I've seen rounds. I saw Charles Howell shoot 63 one year at on the plantation at Sea Island when it was blowing 40 and the wind was about 20. The best round I've ever seen on tour is Brent Snedeker when he shot 69, I believe, or 68 to win at Torrey. When the average score was like that. Yeah, it was like 78 that day. It was the hardest. It was impossible. So the things that impressed me, and I guess it's because I was never good enough and never believed in myself, the little things impress me. When I see Dustin Johnson or I see Rory McIlroy started over the water on 18 at Sawgrass and they bleed it back to the middle of the fairway like it's nothing, or I see I can't think of a hole off the top of my head. 14 at Southland, TPC Southland, one of the hardest par threes. Used to be even harder when they played 30 yards further back. Water on the right, and I see guys started over the water and hook it in the flat. That's the stuff that amazes me. That's the thing that I don't think the general public really gets it. Yes, that takes a skill, but that just takes balls and no fear. I mean, that's just stuff that to me just drives me crazy. Like, oh my God, how did they just do that? I mean, everybody else cutting it over to the left, or they're just trying to keep it on land, and these guys just aren't afraid. And those to me are the cool things that I see. Biased with seeing stuff that Patrick can do in practice, you know, making, you know, like you hear stories of Larry Bird making 100 free throws in a row, all those kind of stories you hear, but seeing him make, you know, 50 to 100 5-footers in a row, just from random different spots, things like that. Those are, to me, are really cool. When we do our wedge combines and the guys averaging 5.5, 6 feet a wedge from 100 to 140 yards. Those are things that you just really can't teach. Those are the sickening things that these guys are great at. Watching Steph Curry warm up for a basketball game. Those are cool things. Watching Bryson last year at Hilton Head when he was first trying to really crack the speed numbers, and you know the net they have at Hilton Head, and swinging, and he's getting it to 210. And he's got the whole driving range is on Hilton Head watching him hit drivers. Everybody, you know those guys, they're all selfish. They don't really care about what anybody else is doing. To be great, you're doing your own thing. And literally the whole range is stopped and coming over behind him and watching him swing at 210 and just sending it over that net like it's nothing.
Bastards that live back there.
Yeah.
Those are the cool things that, when you ask the question, those are things that I never dreamed of being able to see.
Yeah, that's when you know some special shit's going on. When the best in the world all stop what they're doing to watch another guy, that's when you know something rare is taking place. All right, next one. Of all your students, by the way, how many guys are you working with right now?
I've got eight full guys out on tour, and then probably 3 to 4 others that I see that come to Dallas or I see occasionally at different spots. I try to make a general rule, and I've done a better job with it. My players give me a hard time, and some of them say you're going to work with the entire field. So I try to limit my guys on my full-time guys are the only ones I work with on the road, and then I have a few others that I see from time to time off the road. So I never dreamed of this many. I don't really know how to say no. I have a hard time saying no because I love it.
I get it. It leads me into some bad situations. But, okay, we'll count your part-time guys as well. Of your 11 or 12 guys that you're working with right now, who would be the most likely to blow an entire winner's check in the shortest amount of time?
Well, I don't work with Grayson Murray anymore, so that would have been a 100% of a lock right there. I think Sam Ryder.
Interesting.
I would have said Kelly Craft. I would have said Kelly.
Oh, that's just day in, day out.
He's a fancy dude.
He lives like Tiger.
Yeah, he's a fancy.
He's not afraid.
I feel like he's
100% Kelly Craft. He would just spend it over a longer period of time. He would add another country club membership. He would own Cabo. He would do things like that. Ryder's going to go out and blow out in Vegas with strippers, with the bottle service with Colt Knost.
I'm glad you brought him up.
I don't know why I had to get
glad you brought him up. I feel like Kelly Craft is the Dallas Keith Mitchell.
Yeah.
Both like a nice shit, you know?
That's fair.
Yeah, he likes nice stuff. He dresses the part.
Yeah.
All the part through and through, and he came from Denton, Texas. So
hey, if there's a Ritz Carlton within 2 hours of the golf course they're playing, he's going to stay at it. He's fine. He doesn't mind the extra drive.
Yeah. When the playoffs were in Liberty 1 year, Liberty National somewhere, I mean, the guy was actually, I don't think it was Liberty. Liberty's not that bad.
It wasn't. It was a Bethpage. He was staying at the Plaza.
Like an hour and a half, staying downtown Manhattan, going to the Polo Bar every night, and the course was an hour and a half away or something. But hey, each his own.
Yeah, that's true. Staying in the Hamptons.
He finds a way to keep out there year in, year out.
Yeah.
All right.
Gotta look good. Gotta feel good.
Number 7.
Yeah.
Who had a bigger meltdown on the 18th hole of a golf course? Jean Van de Velde at Carnoustie or you at Royal Oaks Country Club in Dallas?
Yeah, fortunately, mine wasn't on national TV, and it didn't cost me $1.5 million or so, let alone all the other stuff that goes with it. But mine was more embarrassing. Mine was only cost me a couple $100, but it was one of the most demoralizing moments of my life. Other than getting fired, it was probably ranked right there, just below it. I played my best golf ever as a mid-am from like 35 to 40 years of age, and I was good. And Colt, you probably gave me one aside. It was pretty.
Yeah, I think it was around one aside, and
it wasn't too crazy, but I was good. Yeah. I could beat all. In college, I could beat Patrick and Hendrick just as much as they beat me. And when I came to SMU, I could beat all my players then. So I was good. But I had driver demons. Still have driver demons. That's why I don't play anymore. And I was, I think, 7 under par through like 14 or 15. I think I made a bogey, and then I just striped. And Colt, I think it may have been the first time I'd ever played with Colt, but we knew each other well enough, and obviously gives me a hard time. And he knew about my driver demons. And so I'm walking up to 18 at Royal Oaks, which is a scary tee shot for anybody, but I-75 shouldn't come into play. But he basically, right before I'm about to hit it, he goes, when am I going to see that high right shot I've been hearing about? Well, I didn't handle it very well. And this ball was at least 200 yards right of the fairway and is still traveling down I-75 South going to SMU. But it was a pretty low moment in my career.
It's one of the hardest I've ever laughed on the golf course. I felt bad because I definitely got in your dome, but just the result of the shot was incredible. I mean, you backed off and just looked at me before you hit it, and you're like, God.
I wanted to kill you. I wanted to absolutely punch you, but at the same time, I was like, all right, it's funny, and I need to show them that I can do this, and I just couldn't do it. And I would love to know my impact numbers. The face had to be at least 35 degrees open at impact. It's frightening, but whatever.
Sounds like you've gotten over it. Sounds like you barely even remember. Definitely no scar tissue from that one. Fuck.
Every time I get on 75 leaving Royal Oaks, I just start
I don't
laughing.
really remember it, but it was a Wednesday. It was 72 degrees, northeast wind, 6 miles an hour. I don't know. I can't really remember. All right. Well,
Thankfully,
shit happens.
Able to take enough big cat money that day to still break even, probably.
He's a nice insurance policy whenever you're playing anywhere. Just like, as long as I can get a game here, no matter what, I can have a little more exposure over here with the other fellas. God bless the big cat. All right, my next one. You just mentioned this man and his propensity for wild things. So I'm going to ask you, which outfit would you expect to be more flamboyant? Sam Ryder at a casual Wednesday dinner or Elton John performing at the Grammys?
There's similarities. There's definitely similarities. I mean, it's not a no-brainer. It's not an easy question. I think Elton's going to be a little bit more flamboyant, but Sam doesn't hate a jogger. He doesn't. But you know what? He's a good-looking kid, and he can pull it off. But he's definitely got some. He's not afraid of a nice dinner and a nice bottle of wine and a little eccentric outfit.
Mm-hmm. Hey, you and I will stick to those boring outfits. Just keep it nice and simple, Josh.
Yeah, we'll stick to wear a lot of black.
Yes. All right.
Black and gray, buddy.
No doubt about it. Last one. This is actually a serious golf one. We mentioned all podcasts. You worked with Bryson DeChambeau, Coach Bryson DeChambeau, Patrick Reed. They both have one major right now. At the end of the career, who ends up with more major championships, Bryson or Patrick?
Wow. You're going to get me in trouble again. Yep. I can't say tie, can I?
If you want, I'll allow it just because I know I don't want to get you in trouble. But I need to have a number. Then if it's a tie.
They both win 4.
Oh shit!
Bryson's gonna be pissed at you.
That's a lot. They're both gonna get on their horse. Who would you say?
You know how hard 4 is?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
How many people in our game won 4?
Not many.
How many people in our game won 4? 20? 20 guys won 4 more? I don't know.
I don't know if it's that.
Maybe I'd say less than that.
No, I do think it's hard.
But it's probably 50. There's too many good players.
Yeah.
Period.
Who would you say?
There's 3 tours on the PGA Tour. You know this. There's the Big Boy Tour. Patrick and Bryson are part of that Big Boy Tour. 15 or 20 guys that you just can't beat. You can beat them when you're on, but for the most part, you're just not going to beat them when they're on. Then you got 20 to 70 that are all good enough to make it to East Lake. And then you got 70 to 175 that are trying to keep their cards.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
To answer your question, I'm going to say Bryson.
To your point,
power game.
So would I.
He's got a game that Patrick's going to have to win on the right places. But what's crazy, this is what, and I know this because of his Ryder Cup snub this year, is that if you look at the metrics, strokes gained, I believe he's either second or third in golf courses that are over 7,500 yards.
Patrick Reed.
Totally.
I believe it. Because he can get it up and down because
everybody misses greens and then he's better from their end. Yeah.
People think that longer golf courses only cater to guys who bomb it. Yes, does it help? But it doesn't, because you're going to hit fewer greens. Period.
Awesome.
So that's, people say, you can only win certain courses. I still think he's going to, his record in the British Open's been okay, but I'm surprised it's not better, because I think it's someday that's going to be the right spot for him because of his imagination, ability to fly it, curve it, shape it, do all those things. I think that'll be a good spot for him. And I think the U.S. Open, the more of the modern traditional style golf courses would be better for him as well. But yeah, there's not a golf course built that can't hold Bryson in his length.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
So,
Josh,
I'm going to go with 4.
Okay,
He's a hell of a run. Hell of a run for both of them.
Well, Josh, this has been fascinating stuff, man. We really appreciate you taking the time. Go home, get some dinner. But as always, man, we appreciate it, and we'll see you out on the road soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
All right, well, that was Josh Gregory joining us here on Golf Subpar, live from his car. Sleaze, I just, like I said before the episode, I love these ones. You get the behind-the-scenes looks. You get things that maybe the players won't really tell you, but the coaches, they just throw it all out there.
Yeah, he had no issue opening up and talking about Patrick Reed coming to Augusta State and all that sort of deal. And it's like he says, man, different rules for different guys. Like, he wanted to win. He's trying to build a program. He knows there's some risks. He did his due diligence and said, yeah, this is going to be worth it. Guess what? Turned out working out pretty well. Won a couple of natties and then goes down to SMU and gets another guy, Bryson. And just hearing about him coming up, like, kind of his recruitment and things like that. And he's went out and watched him, and it's the worst attitude I've ever seen. Like, it's gotten – like, the guy's made huge leaps, but it's all these guys with mega talent. I feel like there's always something.
I love one of the things he said is, if you have a 4.0 and a 68 scoring average, you can do what you want.
You can play.
Yeah, you can
go ahead and play here.
But, I thought it was very interesting coming from where we always talk about how college golf, you miss it once you turn professional because it's such a team event. He's like, it's not a team event. Everyone does their own thing. You shouldn't be working out with me. I shouldn't be working out with you. We have our different practice things, all this. The only time we should be really hanging out is in the van and study hall. I thought that was very, very interesting. I've never heard a coach say that.
Yeah, all coaches are like, everybody does it all together and things like that. You go out on the PGA Tour and look at one guy preparing for a major and another guy. They ain't doing the exact same stuff at the exact same time. So I think you want that team chemistry, but in reality, to get your best out of your guys, probably they all need to do something a little bit different, more or less. They should be still a team, but like prep-wise, nobody does two things the exact same way. I thought it was real interesting getting into Bryson. You and I have talked about this on the radio. It's like his wedges, man. Like, how hard is it to hit a wedge with a 6-iron length club? Like, that's really, really hard. Of course, that's going to be one of his weaker stats. And he was this close to getting Bryson, like, yo, let's go try some normal. You can keep all your other irons the same. And I would be very interested to see how that would have worked out. Bryson gotten very good with the wedges. Wing foot, he was unbelievable around the greens. But there's no doubt about it. Chipping with a 6-iron length club is harder than chipping with a 60 degree is.
I love that he thought he had Bryson convinced to switch, and then he called him at 6 in the morning. He's like, Coach, I haven't been able to sleep. No. I can't do this.
I freaked out.
Yeah.
I panicked. So you go ahead, pull out a Dallas Athletic Club. I'm good.
Oh, that's great. But thank you to Josh Gregory for joining us. It was a lot of fun. All right, let's get to FanDuel, Sleaze. Our guys over at FanDuel, the best sports book in all the land.
Let's stay hot.
Yeah, I mean, just another dub you picked on.
Whatever, dude. Buy a car for your family for Christmas. We keep hitting like this. Let's go.
We got the QBE Shark Shootout this week. Fun team event, 3 days. A lot of cool and interesting teams. Big favorite, Sam Burns, Billy Horschel going off around 4.5 to 1. That's a team. That's a tough one. They're very, very similar. They're aggressive. They're quick players. They're going to be tough to handle.
Burns had himself a chance this past week as well. Looked like he might get it done after all that was going on. But, yeah, they're your favorites, and they're your favorites for a reason. Give our picks out right now. I'm going to go with team. This is going to be the fan favorite, I think. This is clearly the ones that people are going to be rooting for. Max Homa, my man from the double hole this past week. We didn't win, but we got him prepped correctly. Fourth, just off the podium. Max Homa, Kevin Kisner, +7 hundo.
Yeah, I like that team a lot. They're going to have a lot of fun out there. I'm going with two guys, work with the same golf coach. Very, very different games, which I think works well in this. They can kind of complement each other. Jason Kokrak, Kevin Na.
Kokrak right now, I mean, the kid's blazing as well. I mean, there's a handful of guys going into this thing in really, really good form. It's not the most serious thing in the world, but you put a bunch of money up, and these guys are going down there and playing like they all want to win. Those juices get going. So, yeah, I mean, Kokrak is on a rocket ship right now.
No doubt. Well, we're going to see how that turns out. We got that event left, and I'm not sure if we can bet on the parent-child.
I'm going to find a way. I want to dig in and see how these kids' forms are going in.
But we have an incredible event coming here to Scottsdale, Arizona, December 11th, FanDuel Fan Fest, and you can be there for free. Don't miss your chance to hang out with sports legends, also me and Sleaze, and see live performances by Griffin and Nelly.
Country Graham, anyone?
Ooh.
A little throwback, bring you back to a little high school party. Hello.
Yep, but like I said, we will be on site. Come hang out, have a beer or 12, and win a lot of prizes. We'll be participating in the awesome games they have and have a dedicated spot to meet all of you.
All you got to do to get your 2 free tickets, just place any bet of $20 or more on the FanDuel Sports app. If you're new to FanDuel, sign up using the promo code Subpar, and you'll also get a risk-free bet of up to $1,000. FanDuel FanFest, it's the hottest party in sports, presented by Lionsgate American Underdog, and it all goes down Saturday, December 11th at Westworld of Scottsdale. Just download the FanDuel Sports app or visit FanDuel.com/FanFest to get your 2 free tickets now.
We will be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. Westworld, really close to the crib, so can stumble home afterwards. But come on over, meet Nelly, Griffin, all kinds of legendary athletes.
Think we meet Nelly? Let's get Nelly to slide over in just, a few minutes. Ask him if he's heard of Adam Long.
Of course. They're big in the Lou.
He's one spot ahead of him.
Well, go to FanDuel.com/FanFest to get your 2 free tickets now. Must be 21 years or older and present in Arizona. Opt-in required for existing users. Refund for new users is issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/FanFest. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. Well, that was a lot of fun this week, Sleaze, and we got a lot more fun coming y'all's way because next week we got the Raging Cajun Brandon Stokely in the house.
B Stoke in the house. I'm gonna put it at top 3 to 4 funniest ones we've ever had. But you get you get some good golf stuff, and you get a lot of good like Peyton stories inside the NFL type of stuff. I think it's one of the more fun ones we've ever had.
All right, well, thanks to everyone for listening. We'll talk to you on next week's Golf Subpar.